A very good morning to all the students again. So today we will be covering chapter 26, that is using AWT controls, layout managers and menus. Though we will be focusing only on two controls, that is labels and push buttons. And one layout manager will be seen because your course is very restricted in this chapter. You have to cover only before applying checkboxes. So we'll be starting with this. So basically, what are AWT controls we need to see? So controls are basically when you work with abstract window toolkit or any kind of a window, because you are working with frames. So on frames, if you place any kind of a text box, any kind of a button, any kind of labels. So these all are controls that you can place on your frame windows, and because and through these controls you can design your frames or program your frames to handle some events, like whenever you click on a button, you want something to happen. Like if you fill up some form on Google form, and after entering your details in various boxes, in the end when you click submit, it submits the details that you have filled in those text boxes of the form. But if you click on the cancel button, it will not submit the form. So accordingly, clicking on a submit button will initiate some other action, and clicking on a cancel button will initiate some other action. And clicking on these two buttons are basically two different events which you are sending to your window, and your window is listening to on which button a user is clicking, and accordingly it is going to perform a action in turn if you have coded some action in return to that event. So we need to see how you can place various buttons on your frame as well, and in turn on the event of clicking on those button or doing something on your frames, you can code you can code in your frame, you can code your frame to listen to those events and execute some action in response to that event. So this is all about event handling. Diksha ma'am has also uploaded some notes of chapter 24, that is event handling, and this is what all they are talking about in that chapter 24. Each and every button or each and every thing that is happening on your frame window is a event. An event can be many, like I just discussed in your last lecture, that when you enter a frame, that is mouse entered. When mouse exit a frame, that is mouse exited. So one question you have got in your assignment, that is last year question paper, about listing all the events of mouse, some three events of mouse. So these are all the events actually which are happening on doing some action with your mouses on your frame windows. So you can just go ahead with reading chapter 24 and whatever is there in your course guidelines, and according to that you will be more clear about what are events. So I'm in every lecture I am discussing about events and trying to give you a hint so that you can connect with chapter 24 and understand how these things are actually happening. So I'm sorry for some background noises, but I hope it will be clear to you if you focus. So we'll be discussing only two control placement on our windows, on our frames, that is labels and push buttons. So, but when you place something on your controls on your on your frame, you need to design the layouts of those placements. So for designing the placements, like if you want to place your buttons or your controls from left to right fashion or top to down fashion, there is a layout manager which helps you. So we will be using a layout manager, and which basically helps automatically positioning of your controls within a frame, that is within a container. So container is nothing but a frame on which you are placing a your controls. So we'll be using a very simple layout manager provided by the abstract window toolkit, which basically places your controls on the window in the left to right top down fashion. So we'll be just seeing, this is a basic. So menu is being described. What is a menu? This is a menu on your, like I have opened a Windows photo viewer. So this is a menu. So you can place your own menus again on your frame windows. So let's move forward. So basically main AWT controls are listed, like these are the main AWT controls: labels, push buttons, checkboxes, choice lists, scroll bars, and text editing. Some of the, but you can just have more powerful controls if you use swings and Java effects. So basically we'll be only using the first two, labels and push buttons, because your course is still here only. And it will give you a fair idea of about understanding about other controls as well. So adding and removing control, whatever control you select, to suppose you want to place a label on your frame window, you basically need to instantiate, create an object of that control, and then pass that object in the add function. So whatever add, in the add function you can pass a object of label, you can pass a object of text box, you can pass a object of whichever control you want to place on your frame. And accordingly the same thing you can remove as well. You want to remove a control, you can just call remove with that reference, like ob dot remove, it will remove that, or you can just pass the component reference in the bracket. So that is and once like you have placed some 5 to 6 controls on your frame, you can just straight away remove all by calling remove all, and it will just remove all the frames in your control window. And accordingly responding to controls, the same thing, that like if something is happening to your controls and you want your frame to execute some code in response to that happening to that event, you need to code for that event in your frame. So that is called as a responding to the controls. So I'll be moving forward to the third page now. So basically, so I'm again resuming from here. So let me just highlight these things. So by default, all the AWT controls are throwing headless exception when an attempt is made to instantiate a GUI component in a non-interactive environment. So this is nothing much of importance to you, because you are already working in an interactive environment of a frame. But if you are using such controls by mistake in any of your Java program which does not instantiate a frame or a window or a applet, then all these controls will throw this headless exception. So because you're already working in a window based environment, this is not of much importance. So to start with, I'll be just discussing how to, this is the labels are the easiest controls, and basically these are also called as a passive control, because these are just used to display some just display some information on your frame windows, but basically they are not capable of capturing any event. So if any labels are present on your frame window, and if you do click on the label, it will not pass any event, it will not generate any event to your frames. So basically these are therefore called as a passive controls, and that is the reason they are also very easiest controls. So there are three constructors to create label objects. One is an empty constructor, second is a string label constructor with a string parameter. Basically what the string is used for, the string is used for as a text which is placed on the label, that is label caption of the label that you call in the technical term. So this is a string which will be displayed on the label if you place. And the third constructor is a label object, to create a label object with two arguments, that is string str and int how. The first is again a string which is used basically to place a caption on the label, and the second parameter is an integer value which takes these three constants, label dot left, label dot right, label dot center, to align that caption on that label either on the left hand side, on the right hand side, on the center of the label. So you can apart from, if you just don't want to set the text on the label through these constructors, you can call, after you create an object, you can explicitly call a set text function through the label object. Like if you have created a label L1, so you can L1 dot set text, and in the bracket you can pass your text which will be displayed as a caption on the uh, label. So apart from aligning from these constructor, alignment of the text from these constructor, you can explicitly call set alignment. In that bracket you can pass these three, label dot left, label dot right, or label dot center accordingly. And by default, the string that you place, if you don't call any alignment, by default the strings are left aligned on the caption. So this is a small Java program which basically shows you how the placement of labels are being done. Rather than going into this program, I'll just show you through this is how it is being done. So same program in one sense I have created. So let us just go on the Java NetBeans environment, and I'll just show how this program is working. So this is a sample program that basically creates a frame and puts three labels on my frame, and the labels or the text which are displayed on the labels are 1, 2 and 3. And as these are very simplest and the passive controls, and they do not capture any event, so there is no event handler which is being coded in this program. So I'll just start with the code. So basically import, it will start with import java.awt.star and event.star. Why event.star? If I said I'm not capturing any event for my labels, I'm basically capturing event, that window closing event that I capture in every frame, because I just want, when I click on the cross, the window should close. So again, the class name is first4, and which extends frame because it has to act like a frame. And in the constructor of first4, again the same thing, I am adding a window listener because I want that closing event to be captured, so I need to add the statement. And the first thing, before labels, before adding labels or any controls, I need to fix the layout of those control. So this is the simplest layout that we'll be fixing for our frame, that, and you have to fix the layout by calling set layout function. And in the set layout you have to pass new flow layout. This flow layout is the simplest layout manager which places your controls in the left to right manner. And the another thing that I'm creating a label 1 one 1 is the object of label, and I'm using the constructor with string parameter. For creating second label that is named 2, I am using the empty constructor, and for creating label 3, I am using the third constructor with two parameters. The first is string and the second is a alignment. So after, because I have not used any text to be passed in the to label, so I'll be using set text explicitly to place caption on my to second label, and accordingly I am again setting the alignment through this explicit call to set alignment. After creating these labels, I'll be adding those by add command, add 1, add 2, add 3, and this is all that we have to do. And rest the things you already know, that you have to set the size of your frame, you have to set it visible, the standard thing that you do. And after that there is public void paint in this function, in this class, and there is another function, the last function is main, which is basically creating the instantiating the class that is first4, and accordingly just calling these three statements repetitively. So I'll just execute this code again to see how it is adding the labels on my, so I'm just running the file. And you can see on this frame there are 1, 2 and 3 labels. This is my first frame is displaced down, and there are 3 labels, and when you're clicking on 1, 2, 3, nothing is happening as no events is captured. So this is all about for today's lecture. Please go through these videos, and I'll start my next video for push buttons later. Till then, happy learning.